there, welcome back. Today I'm talking about Brian DePalma's Snake Eyes, which is a film he released after Mission Impossible, and this is probably his last big film in the film studios that he had like full control over, or most control over. There's a problem with the end, and we'll get to later on. But mostly it's a big Brian De Palma film, and it's cynical as you'd hope for. But after this, he did Mission to Mars, which I've got a video up on. And then he went to France and did like Femme Fatale and Black Dial and things as he burnt out the studio, because studios were now going from films that a good director could put a personality into to just be franchise movies. And he was a franchise guy, and it basically was like with the writings on the wall, so he just went off to Europe and did his own thing. And now he's more or less retired. But even in Europe, he did a couple of interesting films like Femme Fatale, Passion, Redacted. And Black Dial is a hoot as well. It's very flawed, but it's very interesting. I'm going to get to that one in the video. But Snake Eyes is kind of his last big budget thing. It followed on from... He came up on Planet Vanities, which was a big disaster for him, but then he came back with Reason Came, which made some money for him. Then Carlito's Way, which made money, and is a very well received film now. At the time, it did okay, but it's one of those films that it's kind of like Heat or something, where it's always in rotation. It's always getting shown on TV. It's always in rotation whenever they've released stuff on like Blu-ray, 4K, on digital. It's always there. It's one of those films that's like, yeah, people like this film, keep on putting it out because people like it. So it's probably made a fortune over the years because it's a well-made gangster film. And it's one of the ones that's always risen to the top. Then he made Mission Impossible, which sort of started the massive franchise Mission Impossible. I had an interview with him recently where he was very dismissive of the second one and very dismissive of Robert Townsend working the first one. So, I mean, the good thing with De Palma is he doesn't hide what he thinks. He says what he thinks. His opinion of the latest ones is like, why all the running? Why all the bike chases? So he just says what he thinks. So, this one with Snake Eyes was basically a whodunit that's not really a whodunit. It takes place in Atlantic City during a hurricane, basically. It's a rainstorm because there's a boxing match going on, and they want the boxing match to go on because it's a big money boxing match. They're going to see it's a rainstorm, even though it's a hurricane, because they want the money. So that's the first part of De Palma's been cynical, because that's a very cynical film that's also quite warm in the centre of it. But it's a mix. The idea is it's a mix of like how the cynicism of a world that is ultimately goes towards the money and corruption. How does that affect people? How does that affect various people and their various issues? And I mean, it's one of those ones where you're kind of sympathetic to the villain. The villain does things, but he's like, you're not entirely against him either, because it's like what he says makes some sort of sense. It's just how he's doing it. It's just like, no, you've gone too far. You've just really gone too far. But it's. And the hero's corrupt in lots of ways, which is his downfall. And it's one of those films where everyone has shades of grey. The only person who seems halfway decent is one naive character played by Carla Gugino, who's an actress who you've seen in lots of stuff over the years. This is a first big film, though. This is the first time anyone really saw her in the movies, and since then she's always been in stuff. And she's really good here. But in this Nicolas Cage, during his peak of his action movie era period, this was just after Face Off and Con Air and The Rock and all these big films. So this was him going back to actually doing something that wasn't an action movie. So he's got to work with De Palma. And unfortunately, because this film didn't do well, they were going to try and make a Howard Hughes movie called Mr. Hughes. Because this film didn't do well, they never got the chance to make the other one. Which is a shame, because I would have liked to have seen that. So it's written by David Koepp, who worked with De Palma on Carlito's Way and Mission Impossible. And this one, they're together. De Palma and him come up with the story. Koepp wrote the script. And they're looking at a kind of cynical world. And the idea is, through this one shot that starts the film off, you're going through the whole of the casino with Nicolas Cage. You've seen his world. You've seen a lot of the setup to what's going to come. Like, you've seen a corrupt world. You've seen the different players, like the boxer, who's getting on a bit, and is probably close to retirement. You're seeing the various gambling people who are illegal, who you shouldn't be around there. You see Gary Sinise, who's in charge of security. He's our villain. Not a surprise, because you find out halfway through the film. And he's like an old friend of Nicolas Cage's character. They grew up together. They're really tight. And it's going through all that all the way up to the assassination. So you go through with Cage from the bills of the place all the way up to the place where they're having the match, and you're going through the boxing match. You stick in Cage and the rest of it, and then finally, just before the assassination takes place, there's a cut down assassination. That's it, and then suddenly we're into the film. Try to figure out what happened during this long shot and what were all the things you never saw. And it's Cage putting it all together and try to figure out what he missed. Because he knows the boxer through the fight. He saw a reaction from the boxer that told him, okay, something happened there. But that's all he's got. And just instincts something's a bit wrong. But he's not even that instinctual towards that. It's just like, okay, something's off here, but I'm going to chase it up. But he's really chasing it up because he's friends with Steve's character. He's trying to protect his friend, who's the villain, but he doesn't know that yet. And it's all about the relationship between these two guys who are close, or were close, and maybe are not as close as Cage's character thinks they were. And that's really the dynamic of the film. It's their relationship. It's about them and what the world means to them now. But done in a very big melodramatic way, because it's a DePalma film. He likes operatic emotions. He's not going to do things within the story that's underplayed. It's a big epic story, but it's also about these two people. So, but the epicness is through this whole casino. It's going through the casino constantly, and just seeing how the casino works and how the how the system's always been gamed for somebody. And as Cage goes through the system, he figures out certain things that are going on within the story, leading him to figure out that his pal was actually behind it all, that it was a political assassination, and try to figure out what it's about, and try to protect the witness, who is also, she was glassy, the glasses were smashed, so she's kind of blind, trying to escape Sinise, while barely being able to see. And there's just lots of little details of that through the film. But the film really is something you should see on the big screen. It loses a lot on the small screen. It really does, because it's an epic in camera moves. And the camera moves tell you so much. If you watch it on the small screen, you think, was that it? But on the big screen, everything makes much more emotional sense. It's about the movements of characters, whether it's overcrowded, because early on, Cage is going through the arena, but he's always passing by people, interacting with people. It's a sense of overcrowding of information, which you don't get in the on the TV version. TV just feels like he's going through a landscape. In the cinema version, you can actually see, you can feel the over stimulation that you're getting with him. It's just like everything's overstimulated. There's no way to figure out everything, because he's trying to do his thing. He's spotting all these other things, and there's a lot of stuff he figures he would never make sense of anyway, so why bother? And then as the film goes on, it's pulling apart things visually, but even doing that, these are characters who are hunting for information throughout, and the camera's always following them, always tracking and hunting them. The camera's always hunting over through the landscape, through this casino, over roofs, and over rooms, see what's in the rooms as well, and everyone's getting spied upon. Everyone's trying to make money off the system, and everyone's getting conned. And everyone's conning themselves and thinking they can do something about the system. And that's the whole metaphor is Snake Eyes, the house wins. The house wins all the time. Even if you think you can escape it, the house is going to win. So it's a fairly cynical film. That's probably why it did not do well. Because, I mean, it really does. I mean, the ending is pretty dark. Even though some of the bad guys get caught, DePalma pulls the foot away to suggest that the big bad guys escaped, and anybody who did anything kind of is going to get caught out. Anyone who helped solve the case at Cage, he gets screwed over at the end because of his corruption. I mean, this is 20 years old film, so I'm not that worried about spoilers. So the film is about the sense of, like, there's no way you can win. And it's a sense of visually how you can get that through. And it's just a case of them running through the landscapes, basically like mice in a trap. But it's a beautiful landscape. Everything looks gorgeous the whole way through the film. Everything looks gorgeous. You're being conned by how beautiful how bright everything looks. So everyone's awake and they're always gambling. How the cameras are always watching everything so no one can cheat. So, how even the rooms you're going to get charged a lot to do stuff, and how everyone's always been watched no matter what. And there's just that sense of these hunters trying to figure the information out. One's trying to protect his information, and one's trying to find the information. And the funny thing is, they're both doing it for the same reason. Like, Sinise wants to protect Cage from the actual reality. He doesn't want to have him be faced with reality. He'd rather just have him be in his little spot and do well in this situation when don't actually find the reality. And Cage is trying to protect his friend until he realises his friend's the worst and he's done it. We find out early on that Sinise is the villain. I mean, you find it pretty much halfway through. But again, it's what I said before, his reasons for doing it really are, there's a new defence system, it was pushed forward to test, and it wasn't ready. So they doctored the results, but someone has results to show that it's actually been doctored. His view is basically, because he was in a accident that actually happened at sea, that the system would have saved all these lives, that it's a political move to avoid paying for something, while the legal version of it is he's conning people to get rich. But it's like, what side's the reality? Because, I mean, you can see the people financing the thing are doing it to get rich. Sinise actually feels like a patriot. He actually feels like he's a kind of guy who will do horrible things for his country and be justified in his way of doing it, because he thinks this thing will work. It's just that he's dealing with corrupt politicians. She do feel sympathy for him, even though he goes way too far. But even at the end, you can tell he's just wishing Cage would just take the money and just give up the information, let them cover it up, everyone gets good. And because Cage just, there's one thing he can't do, ultimately his character cannot kill someone. He can be corrupt with them, but murder is like his one thing where he's not comfortable with it. So that causes friction between them. So there is an ending that was quickly tested and then discarded, in which the whole place is flooded, and it's almost like a biblical thing where they corrupt or drowned by the hand of God, which people thought was too much and way over the top. So now you have a bit where the villain gets caught and he shoots himself. He tells a reshoot because it doesn't really fit him the best style. But it is what it is. It's one of those ones that's like, Sinise almost pulls it off because he's a good actor. But it does feel a bit disappointing because you feel there's something else coming, because they've built up this wave for so long, this hurricane, and nothing comes of it. And it's like, I know DePalma film, something should be coming of this wave. So that's the kind of disappointing thing, that doesn't pay off. But the film is one of those ones, it's not full on DePalma at its best, but it is very good. It is a lot, it's very underrated. It's a lot better than people think it is. Because it does have a point of view, and it is pretty much, it's used as murder mystery to show the various sides of corruption within this like society, like this, like everyone's got a hand in, everyone's fooling themselves, everyone's trying to make a quick buck off something, and it just is a disaster. So the whole film is about this kind of moral disaster within people that creates all these structures that are inhumane but seductive to ourselves as we're trying to hustle to get anything to get ahead. So when Cage is in that rat trap for a long time, and it's only when it becomes a case of he sees how far he's gone and how like he just cannot let someone be murdered for it, is like his line. So it's even a variety of things, but it is a very operatic film. It is a cynical film, it's also very operatic, but you also have a softer side of the characters who actually are. I mean, the woman character, she is trying to do the right thing, and because of that, because he's a problem with people getting killed, that kind of brings out the kind of more decent side of Cage's character, who is cynical, but there is another element. He's going to be cynical to people who are cynical with him. But if someone's actually naive and is not a bad person, he's not going to be a bastard to them. You know, he's dealing with rats usually, so that's how he acts like a rat. But he's not going to be nasty with people who don't have it coming. You know, so there is a kind of element of decency to him. And even as Sinise's character, there is an element you do sympathise with him, even though you know he's going too far. So that's what the film kind of does quite nicely. It suggests there is shades of grey even within this corruption. You know, so you never quite tell, was the person killed a decent person or was he just a career politician who was a scumbag. You never know whether you should actually care if this person get killed or not. You care because the thriller and the mystery being solved, but at the end of it you don't really know who the guy was because he could have been someone worthless. I mean, he probably was worthless. That's the thing, is like the time you found you've got to the end, and I'm pretty sure that character was pretty worthless. You know, ultimately, but he was only doing this so he didn't have a scandal coming back at him more than anything. I don't think he was really like idealist or anything. I think it was a case of the actions against him suggest that he's probably a horrible person. But again, I quite like is the idea that the person you're trying to avenge might not be a person you should be avenging. It might just be, you know, someone who's probably had it coming. So there's lots of stuff like that in the film, which is quite nice. And the style is beautiful, but it's one of those ones you try and see on the biggest screen as possible because the camera moves, and the interaction of camera moves, and how DePalma can cut between certain shots just to create tension and create a beautiful tension throughout. And floating through these landscapes, just wonderful. You just don't get that the same way in the TV screen. You just don't. It's not the same thing. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. That's me for now. I'll be back soon with another one. Right, bye for now.